Where are you? Oh, there you are. Well, welcome back to Imagine Your Odyssey. I'm Jason Cofield, and today I'd like to take you through a little bit about how to hook up water to your rig and how you can use your city freshwater or your freshwater tank when you're out on your adventures. So stay with me and hang in there. And while you're here, please click on the subscribe button, click on that bell for any future notifications. I'll be right back. So welcome back. Now this video may not be for the experienced RVer, but it may be for the newbie. For somebody that really hasn't been out there before or just wants to get some extra information. But nevertheless, let's go through it. So we're going to talk about how to hook up water to your city water connection and your freshwater tank. So to start off, I'd like to go through some of the things that I have here in this bucket and in this bag. So let's go ahead and dig in. So first off in here, we bring a water sprayer. Now that comes in handy when you need to be able to spray off something, fill up a doggy water bowl or whatever it may be, but it comes in handy. Now how would we hook this up? Through a Y splitter. A Y splitter will go onto the spigot at the campsite, and you can hook up your camper to one side to the city water connection, and you can hook the other side up to a water hose that'll go to your water sprayer. Now this little doohickey here is a little 90-degree water connection. That'll actually connect to the rig so that the water hose comes down, not hanging out and putting stress on the connection itself. Now in this bag here is my freshwater hose. The freshwater hose is a 0G type of water hose. Why I like this is because it's very flexible, easy to fold up, and doesn't take much space at all. Now this one's only about 25 feet long. They do make them in 50 feet and they make them in 75 feet as well. Also, if you decide to purchase one of these, you need to make sure that it is drinking water safe. Now the container that this was in when we bought it had a little label on the bottom that says drinking water safe. You want to make sure you have that for your freshwater or your city water tank. Now for this type of water hose. This also is a 0G water hose, but it is not drinking water safe. What we bought this for is for the water sprayer or anything else that we may need around our rig that doesn't require us getting water to our city water connection or our freshwater tank. Now for the important stuff that keeps your rig safe. You don't want to bust any water lines due to high water pressure. So this right here is a water regulator. What it does is it takes the amount of water pressure coming from the spigot at any campsite or anywhere that you're getting water from, and it keeps it at a safe pressure so that you don't bust or hurt any lines inside of your rig. Now we have another one over here inside of this box here. This one here is a different type of regulator. Now I actually prefer this kind. The reason I prefer this kind is because you can manually regulate the amount of water pressure going into your rig. By turning the little set screw up here, you can reduce or increase the amount of water pressure. But not only can you do that, you can watch the gauge here to know what kind of water pressure that you have. Now for most rigs these days, the newer ones, they can handle between 40 or 50 pounds of water pressure. You can monitor that by watching the gauge and adjusting the set screw. But it also does one other thing that I like over top of the other one. It also has a higher flow rate. What does that mean? It means that you can get more water through your rig while maintaining the same amount of water pressure. Now I want to go back to the other one and talk about how that one actually works. Now to talk about how this one actually works in comparison to this one, This one actually restricts the amount of water, which in turn reduces the amount of pressure. By restricting it, the amount of water flow that goes through this one is less than this one. Since I've went to this one, I can tell a huge difference inside of my rig. Now it is a little more expensive, but well worth the purchase. And then one last thing. We have what is a regular water hose. This one is about 50 feet long, which gets us anywhere that we need to go, for the most part, in any campground or any site that we've ever been to. The only difficult side of this is you can see how much bigger this is. Now, like I said, it is 50 feet, but if you can only imagine double the size of the 25 foot of the Zero G, which is this one here, you can see that this one takes up a whole lot less space. So what we do at the campsites is that we use this one, and if we actually get to where this is not long enough, we'll bring this one out and hook it up. Otherwise, it stays in the compartment where it stays dry and it stays safe. One other key part to filling up your rig, whether it's the fresh water or connecting to the city water, is keeping it clean. This is a water filtration system. Now, it's a very simple, very inexpensive, but yet it does the trick. What you're going to do is hook the water regulator to the spigot. From there, you're going to want to connect your filter, and then your hose, and then hook your hose to your rig. Now make sure whenever you're hooking up your system to have the water regulator coming off the spigot first. The reason for doing that is to keep your whole system safe. Not only your rig, but your hose and your filter and anything that's connected in between. Now you may have noticed that I had this in a plastic bag. The reason that we do that is to keep algae from growing inside. Now when it's not in use, you can imagine the water is sitting inside of this, not moving at all, and letting algae grow. So what we do when we get done using it at the campsite is that we take it, we get all the water that we can out of it, we put it in the bag, we roll it up, we put it in our refrigerator. That'll prevent any algae from growing inside of the water filter itself. So let's go ahead and talk about the two connections on the rig itself, and then go through hooking everything up and how the setup looks itself. So now that we have the water connected to the spigot, we want to go ahead and push all the water from here all the way out to the other end of the hose before we connect it to our rig. The reason for doing that is that if there's any trash in your hose whatsoever, anything that might be in the filter, anything like that, all that gets flushed out before it gets connected to your rig. Another thing that it will do is get all the air out of the hose so that when you connect it up and you open up everything in the camper or your RV or your rig, you won't have to wait all that time to get the air out of the lines. So now that I've connected to the spigot, just before I want to go ahead and flush all the air and all the debris that may be in the system out, I'm going to go ahead and hook up my 90 connector, which is going to hook up to the rig. Now what I like to do is to have this at a higher elevation, so that once I get everything out of it and I turn the water off to hook up to my rig, I don't have to worry about whether or not all the water and everything went out and the air came back in. So what I do is I come over here and I just hang it like that. I'll let the water come out of it. Then after I'm done, I'll turn the water back off and connect it to my rig. Right about now. So now that I know that I'm getting a good flush, I'm going to turn the water off so that I can start connecting it to the camper. Alright, now that all the debris or anything that may have been in the system, including the air, is out, I want to talk about two different things that you can do with your rig. Now you can connect this to the city water, which will give plenty of water supply to your rig anytime that you're at your campsite. But what if you're at a campsite that doesn't have a water spigot? Or what if you're out boondocking somewhere? Well, you're going to need to fill up your freshwater tank. Now our freshwater tank is right here beside our city water connection. What I would do is pretty much about the same. I would go to a spigot, I would hook up the filter, I would hook up the hose, everything just the same, flush it out, let it run for a minute. I would come over and start filling up my freshwater tank. After I'm done, wrap everything up, clean it up, put it away. But in this case, we're going to be at a campground where we're going to have continuous water supply just about the whole time that we're there. So we're going to go ahead and connect that to the city water side. Alright, now that we're connected, we only have one last step to do. We're going to go back, turn the water on, let the rig get its pressure built up, and check that regulator's gauge to make sure that we're not overpressurizing our system. Alright, now that we're back at the spigot, we got it connected, and everything has been pushed out and flushed out like we want it to be. Now we're connected to the rig and we're ready to turn it on to check to see what our pressure looks like. So looking at the gauge, we're sitting at about 38 psi, which is perfect for the rig. It won't overpressurize and it'll keep everything safe. Now if you have this kind of regulator and you have it set at 45 to 50 psi and all you're getting is about 38 psi like I am right now, well, don't go making any adjustments. There's nothing wrong with your system. It's the amount of pressure that's coming in, which means that it's actually lower than what you have your system set up at your peak amount that you want, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Now this pretty much concludes everything that we have for this video for today. Now if you have any different types of systems or setups that you have that you would like to share, please put that in the comments below. And before you leave, please click on the subscribe button, click on the little bell so that you get notified the next time a video comes out. And as always, until the next time, keep it safe, keep it dry, and God bless.